Alright, so this game, I think you're playing versus a top lane Teemo as Singed. The first thing I'm going to do is... Wow, your team is really pinging hard. The first thing I'm going to do is look at your runes and masteries. So right here we can see that you're running Bond of Stone, which is interesting. I'm not sure what your other masteries were, but I know for a fact that your keystone is Bond of Stone, and that you have the 4 AP in ferocity. I'm assuming you have the magic pen. No, you don't have the magic pen. You have battle trance, and I'm assuming you have feast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, in the same vein, I'm assuming that you have... Do you have unyielding or do you have recovery in the resolve tree? Do you have the armor bonus or do you have the regen?
Let me check. I have unyielding.
Okay, so you also have tough skin, you have runic armor, I'm assuming, then you have insight. Let me see your ghost cooldown. Okay, so yeah, 153, you're running insight, and then I'm assuming you have swiftness, and then you have Stoneborn Pact is what it's called. What's your logic behind running Stoneborn Pact here?
Like I was seeing that we have 3 AD, so I was thinking like rushing rallies.
Okay.
But I Teemo got it was really poking me hard, so I couldn't rush it.
Oh my bad, I didn't share screens with you. Let me just go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I'm just gonna play this from about right here. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll pause it. You're playing versus a Teemo, you don't have early AP. If you go to lane versus Teemo, you're not going to be able to shove it in fast enough. I think you actually just go straight to, like, laning for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, you just, like, walk into lane. What you should do versus Teemo, if you're not going to look for a level 1 proxy, is you should start up, just come around the lane, walk over here, walk over here, then walk into here and wait here until 140, then pop out when the creep wave goes right here and start pushing, okay?
Okay.
But since Teemo was hiding right here in the middle of the lane, you obviously couldn't do that. If he was to come back here, if he was to sit back here and like try and deny your level 1 proxy, then you'd be able to scout that out and just walk up to lane and start fast pushing by waiting here after he harassed you. But if you walk up here, right, and you think he's sitting in the middle of the lane, but you walk around to over here. I don't know why my cursor is... Okay, and you walk to over here, then you can safely assume that he's not sitting right here invisible, because if he was, then he would have attacked you, right?
Yeah.
So, generally versus Teemo, in a tough range matchup like this, go for the level 1 proxy, and if they deny it, just start fast pushing. There's no point in sitting in lane and trying to farm versus Teemo, because all he's going to do is just harass you, and versus a ranged champion like this, you can't really walk up for CS without trading with him. Like, see how he hits you, but you can't hit him back? You're not trading, you're just losing health at that point, so it's not very good, because he's going to keep all of the health while you're just going to lose health for every CS. He can stay in lane longer than you, he can power spike faster than you, because he's going to have access to more expensive items before recalling, but you have to like buy really cheap items, and you can't like get one big buy, you know? So your power spike is very delayed. Another thing is, I don't know if I would go Doran Shield if you're starting without AP runes, because right now you have 4 AP, which means your poison is... It's basically doing base damage. You're not going to be able to push very hard if you need to, and the fact that you can't push means that he's just going to come up and hit you whenever he has a chance, because he knows that you can't push, and you're going to take more harass. Because if you were just pushing from the start of this, then he would be back here, and he would have to choose between CSing under tower or trying to harass you. And if he chooses harassing you, then he loses CS. Right now, in this position, he can do both. And he can do both for free. He can harass you and he can CS, because he's in the middle of the lane, and he has the ability to. Like, you're less than half health already, and... Okay, you're less than half health already, and he has 2 health potions left, and he's full health. He is out CSing you by double, and you've had to pop your health potion, and he just, like, can deny you last hits, right? But if you were able to just start pushing, then yeah, he might be like a CS or 2 up on you and you'd take damage, but it wouldn't be this bad, you know? And then if you needed to, you could even walk past the tower and start CSing, or you get his flash and then you fling him. Okay, so this is a good kill. I think it's a kill. Yeah, it's a kill. Okay, so that's good, but the problem with that is, yeah, you killed him, but he's still, like, technically ahead because he has more CS, and you didn't get the kill, right? You got the assist. So all this CS that you're getting here is CS that you should have already had if you were fast pushing him. The fact that you didn't get the last hit on the kill there means essentially nothing, because basically you're just tied. Like, he's only a few CS behind you, and he teleported lane. He's going to start shoving this in. And I'm assuming once the laning phase starts up again, he's just going to do the same thing that he was before, because you didn't have kill gold, you had assist gold. So you're only able to buy boosts of speed and health potion. You following?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what's your logic behind buying boots of speed and health potion? And I think you got null magic mantle. What's the train of thought here?
Well, I was thinking like if I could go faster, maybe I could take like less smoke from him.
Okay,
because he has you know, Thunder Lord.
Okay.
And
okay.
I would let him you know, proc it.
Sure. So right there on that gank, you probably should have flung him. I'll just go back actually. I'll talk about your item in a second. Right here in this gank, you should... I see you tried to fling him into the goo. It's kind of pointless there, because you know he doesn't have flash. You might as well just save it to slow him. Instead of going for a goo fling, he has no flash. You can just fling him up this way and try and get more distance for Kayn to hit him. Obviously, Kayn wasn't going to hit him anymore, because Kayn would have died since he missed the W. But just in good practice, you would have gotten more damage on him there. Another thing is, you might have been better off just buying, like, a Doran's Ring and... a potion. I think, yeah, Doran's Ring is 400. I think Null Magic Mantle is 450. So if you had boots and like a Doran's Ring and a potion, you would have just been able to shove this in. I don't know if you'd like take as much damage either, because you'd be doing more damage to the wave. But the hard part about making that assessment is you've already kind of screwed yourself, because you didn't start with a proxy and you haven't been shoving Teemo in. That's like the only real way for you to win this lane is for you to just farm, basically. Teemo does technically outscale you, but he doesn't outscale you until like 3 or 4 or 5 items, like probably even 5 items in, just because the character is so weird and he has to like do weird shit to win the game. He usually has to go an on-hit build to outscale you, and if he goes AP, then you can just tank him out. So yeah, you're just like getting pushed under tower and you're getting harassed, and I'm assuming what happens here is he ends up forcing your recall, and he just sits and CS in the lane because you don't have like teleport and you don't have ghost. So maybe like doing a different buy. You always have to consider the fact that you didn't start with any AP runes, and that fact alone makes your poison so much weaker. Poison base damage now is a lot lower than it was before they changed Singed, so not having early game AP really hurts his ability to do pretty much anything, because his main ability is Poison Trail, right? So if you don't have early game AP and the base damage of poison is lower, then you just can't do anything. So right here he forced your recall. It's just hard for you to lane, right? Because you're not 6 yet, so you can't all in him. I'm assuming you all in him once you get 6.
Yeah.
But
maybe at 6 or 7, I can't remember.
Yeah. So keep in mind, every 15 CS is equal to 1 kill. He's about to be 15 CS ahead of you, so yeah, he doesn't have a kill, but technically he's a kill ahead of you because he's okay. So he's 15 CS ahead of you. That basically means he has the golden experience value of 1 kill up on you, even though he didn't kill you all. He's just out farming you. This is why farming, especially on Singed, never being afraid to proxy is kind of important, I think, or even just fast push. Like versus a melee champion, I would say, you know, go for it, try and like lane versus them and out trade them. But if you're playing versus a ranged champion who you know is gonna harass the shit out of you, like Teemo, and like make your CS suffer, then 9 times out of 10, it's better to proxy, unless you know for a fact that you're that much better than this Teemo, that you can just kill him in lane over and over, and while keeping an even CS score or even out CSing him, but it's not very viable here. Okay, right before I go over this fight, I want to talk about your runes and masters choices. So, going Stoneborn Pact, I think this account that you're playing on right now is in Gold 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at that ELA, you kind of have to assume that every single AD carry player on your team is a brick. You told me that you also took Stoneborn Pact because you have Kayn and Zed. They don't auto attack that much compared to Jinx, so it's not like they do auto attack, yeah, sure, but it's not that much compared to Jinx. It's like 1 or 2 autos in between their abilities. Jinx literally just auto attack. That's all she does. So she's the only character that Stoneborn Pact would realistically benefit. But at the same time, you have to consider what you're giving up for Stoneborn Pact. You could have taken Courage of the Colossus and gotten a shield. In this game, I don't see much of a point in going down the utility or going down the resolve tree, because the main reason of going down resolve tree is for the tenacity, mastery, swiftness. The keystones, basically the only keystone that's realistically viable in my opinion in this game is Courage of the Colossus. Stoneborn Pact, it's at this elo, you don't need to rely on your team to carry you ever. In honestly, up until like master tier, you don't ever need to rely on team. You can still solo carry. So taking Stormborn Pact is basically like saying, I'm not gonna try and do anything. I'm just gonna pray that my AD carry does well, and if she does well, we win. If she doesn't do well, we lose. You're basically resigning yourself to fate at that point. But if you were to take something like Deathfire Touch, and have some AP in your runes, then you could push Teemo in and kind of dictate the lane, pressure him instead of him pressuring you, and make that decision for yourself as to whether or not you want to do. Maybe you could like get level 6, you could start proxying. Nidalee tries to fight you, you maybe get their summoners, maybe you like kill her even, or maybe while you're like laning, she tries to gank you and you fling her under tower, your poison ends up last hitting her or something like that. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in gold, you're honestly, up until master tier, your AD carries are just complete fucking bricks. They don't know what they're doing. So there's not really a point, in my opinion, to run Stoneborn Pact. Even after master tier, I don't think there's really a good point to running Stoneborn Pact, considering how much more Courage of the Colossus tends to help you in a team fight, which is really what Singe needs to do to be able to close out games as team fight. Besides, the way AD carry is right now, they have so much healing from their supports because of Ardent Sensor that you don't really need Stoneborn Pact. It's just like, it's kind of redundant. So right there, when you flung, you should have had your poison on already. Right here, you turn poison off for some reason, and then he just ends up getting like a bunch of damage on you. Then you had to back off. So the fight just kind of ends up being weird. I think the last time I coached you, you did this too, where your poison control was a little bit weird. But I noticed that you did climb out of silver, so that's good. It probably means that your poison control got better, but there's still work to be done on that. So this is good. Okay, so I'm assuming you go back in the lane here. What's another option that you had right here when you cleared his ward? All right, I'm gonna back up just a little bit. Fast forward. Okay, what are your options right here? What do you think you can do besides go back in the lane and farm?
Maybe proxy.
Okay, what else?
If I can. Ward the enemy in jungle.
Okay, what else?
I really don't know.
Okay, so you have a third option here. Actually, no, you have 4 options here. You can come here and take Scuttle Crab. You can heal off of this plant because you don't have health or mana. Well, you have health and mana. You just don't have like full health, full mana. Your other option is to come up here and take Krug Camp and recall because this is pushed in. He's last hitting. He doesn't have a lot of mana. He might not be able to clear the wave in time. And if he does, you're not going to lose a cannon. And you have this XP to back with and then run back to lane because you have boots advantage over him, so you're faster. The best option here is to go for a proxy. Actually, no, I take that back. The best option here, I think, is to kill Scuttle Crab and then heal off of this right here. And then by the time you do that, the wave will be right here because he's shoving, right? It'll be right around here. So you can just come up here and farm and then recall. Maybe get tier 2 boots. How much gold do you have? Okay, yeah, you can get tier 2 boots after that and then run back to lane probably about the same time that he's going to push another wave and pretty much break even with him or even come out ahead because technically you killed the Scuttle Crab and you might be ahead of XP.
Okay.
I would not proxy here because you don't have ult and you don't have ghost. But if you had ult and if you had ghost, I would say proxy. You don't know where Nidalee is, but it's okay. Also, in considering that situation, it's mostly better to proxy when you have AP. Because if you don't have AP, you're not really a threat to people when you're proxying. You're just kind of annoying. If you have AP, like they have to make the decision to chase you through poison if you're good with like your micro and spreading it properly. And they have to like understand that if you're gonna actually do damage to them, they have to gauge whether or not it's worth it to chase you and kill you. Because if you do enough damage to them, you might even kill them. Or if you do enough damage to them, you don't even have to kill them. You can force their recall, and your team can like take dragon or something like that. So that's always important to consider. I see what you're going for with wanting to get Merc Treads first, which personally I would get Merc Treads first too. But I would not have run Magic Resistance. I think I would have run ability power in my runes and just try to shove them in, and then just get magic resistance from items, because you don't really need more than, at least early game and early mid game, you don't need any more magic resist than Merc Treads versus Teemo, even versus AP Teemo. It's kind of overkill, in my opinion, because you get magic resist from your ultimate too, and when your ultimate's up, that's the only time you really want to fight him. When your ultimate's like before level 6, you can proxy. Before level 6, you can fast push without, like, while ignoring him. And if your ultimate is up at 6, then you have the ability power and you have MR from your Null Magic Mantle, Boots, and ultimate to fight him. And you also have damage, right? Because having 93 MR with no damage is kind of pointless, because, like, you're not going to hurt him, but he's still, like, he's not going to hurt you as fast, but he's still going to hurt you because he's building damage, right? Okay, so you went for Negatron Cloak. I'm assuming you're going for Zizirot. You're going for Zizirot because you're going for, like, a support build this game?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't ever need to build support Singed, like the fucking full tank, whatever, like Zizirot. You don't need to do all that stuff until you're in really high elo, in my opinion. And the reason for that is in every elo up until like master or maybe even mid master, you can carry with damage items on Singed. You don't need to go full damage, but you should heavily consider going. I'm gonna pause it right here. You should heavily consider going Rylai's. You should heavily. Actually, I would go Liandry's first every game right now, just because I think that the Magic Pen and Burn from Liandry's is more valuable than the Slow from Rylai's. Also, Liandry's is one tier of item higher than Rylai's, meaning that the amount of stats and damage that you get from Rylai's is more valuable IMO than the Slow from. Sorry, the damage and Magic Pen and Burn you get from Liandry's and the stats is more valuable than the Slow that you get from Rylai's. And the cost reflects that. You also have to consider that the build path for Liandry's is a little bit easier than Rylai's, because you can combine the Health Crystal and the book, the AP book, what is it called? The Tome, into Haunting Guys. And Haunting Guys is like a mid-tier item that will build into your other item. You save an item slot, basically, is what I'm saying, to just have whatever else you need. Instead of, when, like with Rylai's, how you need to have 3 item slots and then go back and then combine it, unless you save a lot of gold. So just food for thought. Yeah, because, like, if you had, like, Null Magic Mantle and Merc Treads here, you'd be probably just as tanky, because you would have health, but you'd have way more damage. And honestly, you probably would have been able to 1v2 them there, because TF boarded in with, like, almost no mana. And Teemo's just, like, kind of chasing you, and he's like, you get the fling here, but you're not going to do, like, that much damage to him. He just kind of ult and walks away. Because, like, if you had ability power there, he would have died, basically. So that right there, with the Kayn, just a mechanical misplay, you weren't prepared for him to flash. What I would have done is just walked along with him, and then, like, you didn't need to do that much to kill Teemo there. All you had to do was, like, get 1 tick of poison and walk away. Odds are you probably wouldn't have died, because you had about, what, half health, I think, back there? So yeah, just, like, walk along with him and kill him. But then again, it's hard to say that, because you don't have that much AP at all. So, yeah, it's just a tough situation to read, because the itemization and the runes and masteries are so weird. Don't be afraid to run ability power, I think. Okay. And yeah, definitely at the beginning of this game, you should have just fast pushed him or proxied him. I'll fast forward this. Because, like, what are you really getting with Zizirot, right? I mean, if you're not ahead, like if you're behind, it's very hard to make use of the new Zizirot, because the range is so much shorter. Like before, whenever you were behind and you bought Zizirot, it was still very viable, because the range was so long that you could just put it down, like, basically wherever, and it would still, like, do damage and, like, annoy the enemy team and kind of harass towers for you. But, like, the new Zizirot, the range is so short that if you're behind, it's kind of just pointless to buy. It almost would have been better for you just to, like, start building health at this point. Like, maybe, like, what is that item called? The Spectre's Cowl, or, like I said, the Haunting Guys build with, like, a Merc Treads or something. He's going, looks like attack speed / AP on hit Teemo. So, yeah, he's going to be really freaking squishy for a long time. Because, actually, he's going to be squishy for the rest of the game. Because this Teemo, I don't think he's going to have Frozen Mallet. Has he built Frozen Mallet this game?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so like this like weird AP Teemo playstyle is not gonna frozen mallet. I think that's a kill. Yeah, that's a good kill. You have to consider how that kill actually played out. Though I'm gonna back up and look through. Okay, so basically this kill happens because he walks up to you and gets flung while messing up his shroom placement, and then yeah, you just kind of walk away and get the kill. If he had flash, you were dead there. He like the issue with that is it's not really. This is more of a singed issue, really. It's not like you really outplaying him. It's just him kind of messing up his positioning because like you didn't force him to make that decision. He made that decision on his own. You could argue that if you were like pushing him in and harassing him, and then when you have ultimate and ghost up, you let him push out and kill him, then you could argue that, you know, you forced him to make a mistake, but he just kind of did that by himself. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. Good to recall here. He's still ahead of you by 30 CS, so you have 1 kill. Technically, he has 3. If you consider the CS difference, because he's 30 CS ahead of you, so technically he has 3 kills. So even though you got a kill on him, he's still doing very well if you're just looking at CS numbers. So this right here is good. It's a little bit rough because you actually did you not have okay, so you didn't have a potion or anything there. A very important thing I think to consider is you did have a potion, okay. But the point still stands. A very important thing to consider I think is refillable potion after a certain point in the game. Like if you buy a refillable potion early, it's gonna save you a lot of gold because you bought I think three or 4 potions this game. So after you buy 3 health potions, like the amount of gold value that you get from refillable potion just goes up really high because the refillable potion costs 150 gold. 3 health potions also cost 150 gold. So if you buy it like at 3 potions or before, then you're gonna start saving money. Also, you get 2 charges per potion as opposed to 1 health potion just giving 1 charge. So you get more healing technically too in the long run for the amount of gold that you spend. Okay, so right here, you have to be really careful because you're walking on Teemo shrooms and they see you coming. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I want to highlight right here. This right here is when you should have ulted and ghosted on her because you have both of these cooldowns up. Is there a reason you didn't ult and ghost on her to try and get the kill here?
No, there wasn't a reason.
Okay, so this is mostly just knowing when Singe is able to fight effectively. Like, if you consider the items that Kayn has, yeah, he does a good amount of damage, but you also have to consider the items that Nidalee has, and she has Cinder Hulk, so she has quite a bit of health on her. She has 1.5k health. Just to compare, oh, you actually do have, okay, so you have a good amount of health, but Kayn has 1.1k, and he's not going to be able to do 1.5k health of damage to her, so, like, she gets away on 234 health there, right? So, if you had ulted and ghosted back here, you would have already caught up to her before she had the chance to get up here, and you could have flung her down and just killed her, because Kayn would have been able to get more damage on her too, but he has to walk away from her at this point, because he can't take the tower. Right here when you go, how much health does she end up getting out on? She goes down to, she goes down to 12 HP. Alright, so that's literally the difference of like 1 or 2 ticks of poison with the amount of health that you have. One or 2 ticks of poison and she would have died. Honestly, if you have Deathfire Touch there and the rest of this game was the exact same, she would have died. Which is why it's really important to consider what items you start with when you have a certain mastery build or certain mastery setup, because she's getting away on 12 health there, and there's so many different factors that would have gotten you the kill there, and maybe put you guys back in the game. But she gets away on very low health. TF ends up teleporting in. Does he get the kill on Kayn? I think Kayn might get away here. Nope. Okay, Kayn dies. And then what should have been a really free kill ends up just being a complete disaster, and you guys are put even farther behind because of a combination of all the factors that we've discussed and one poor fight decision there. How many games have you played on Stage total? Across all accounts.
Like maybe 700.
Okay. That's understandable. 700 games total is not a lot, but I think 700 should be enough to know like when you can fight and when you can't. That is just something that I think you need to practice on, is understanding when you can fight. Kind of don't be afraid whenever you go into a game to just like just push your limits really, and just kind of fight whenever. And then the more you fail, the more you'll realize when you can fight and when you can't. And in the long run, it'll make you a much better player, even if it's going to lose you some games at first. Because if I'm going to pause this actually before this works, because if down here when this fight happened, if you had known from experience that you could just ult ghost her and get the kill without needing to rely on Kayn for damage, then you would have done it, right? So the pink ward up here just now, not very wise, because I don't think having a pink ward down when Teemo is literally standing right there is a very good decision, especially considering that he can just, at this point, Teemo has how many points in move quick? Oh, he only has 1 point in move quick. Usually Teemo's tend to max that second burst of Sin, but he's maxing blinding dart. So this is something you could have taken advantage of. Is he's not maxing move quick second, he's maxing blinding dart, so you just can catch him at any time basically. Especially because he has tier 1 boots and you have swiftness. But yeah, just putting the pink ward where he can just kill it really easily is not the most optimal decision, I think. Right there again, you could have ulted and ghosted on him. That's something to consider. Actually, wait, is that bugged? I think that's bugged. Because he used it right back here, right? Yeah, okay, so that's bugged. You could not have ulted and ghosted on him, but you could have done it before, and then he might have even been able to... No, you couldn't have. Your ult was not up there. Okay, my bad. Disregard that point. Spectators just bugged. Let's fall through here. Okay. This is good. I like that you're proxying right here. It gives you a free wave basically. Mess around with. Okay, and then your recall, good stuff. Okay, you have ZZ right now. What's your plan from this point? What if you were playing this game right now, what would you do now that you have ZZ out?
Well, right now I will try to help my mid lane, like not to collapse. I guess.
Okay.
Because I see there are 4 or 3 people rushing the mid tower.
Okay. Oh, what happened? Did I just bug or? Oh, I went back on accident. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you walk mid. I'll play it from... No, it's gonna keep bugging. Jesus. There we go. Okay, so here's where you recall. And you go mid. Keep in mind, at this point, Teemo is 50 CS up on you, so he is over 3 kills ahead of you, technically. If you had been shoving him in this entire time, you would either be even or ahead. He's about to get your tower, or no, he's not gonna get your tower here, too. But he'll get it very low. You put the ZZ up here, there's not really a point to putting ZZ out right here, because it's not gonna hit the enemy tower. All this is gonna do is just, like, help the wave push towards him. Which, if he was to freeze the lane on you, there's not much at all that you can do, right? Imagine if Teemo freezes this lane on you right here because the ZZ is pushing the wave towards him instead of letting it be even in the middle. What can you realistically do in this game if he freezes the wave on you? Can you go mid and fight? Probably not, because you don't have any health and you don't have any damage. Can you go gank bot? Probably not, because the same reason. You don't have any health and you don't have any damage. Can you do Dragon with your team? No, Dragon's dead. They have 2. Can you do Rift Herald? Probably not, because you're pushed in, or no, you're shoved up and you're frozen on, but there's like a huge minefield of mushrooms, and again, if they contest you, you don't have any health and you don't have any damage. Which is why I think going ZZ out first whenever you're behind is probably not the best idea. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because potentially, you know, if you had had health and you had had damage, then you would have killed him once early game. You could have probably killed him again on that dive over here, and you would have killed Nidalee over here whenever she was in Tribush.
Yeah.
So that's potentially 3 kills that you could have had. You could have been 3-0 and 1, and Kane could have had, or you could have been 4-0 and 1, and Kane could have had 3 assists, and he would have died more. He would have gotten less CS. Nidalee would have died. She would have been a shutdown. She would have gotten less CS. And that's 2 people on their team that would have been much lesser threats with just a little bit of optimization, right? All of that could have been accomplished with just proper runes, proper masteries, proper itemization. Not even like any gameplay, really. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Besides this fight over here with Nidalee, all of that could have been achieved with just purely optimization. Which is why it's very important to always consider whenever you're in champ select. What am I going to buy this game for my starting items? How am I going to play the game? What are my runes? What are my masteries? What's my matchup? How do I fast push? Do I proxy? Do I lane? Do I freeze under my tower? Like, what do I do? Always consider that. Okay, so actually, did you have ultimate and stuff up there? Okay, so you had everything up. Right here, you should have just ulted and ghosted and then flung him. You might have forced his flash, but instead, like, see, you got him to less than half health, right? Imagine if you had ult and ghost running there and you did more damage to him, you could have probably all-in'd him for the kill. Like, you do it here, but the problem is at this point, you're already, like, less than half health. I think you end up killing him, because he's quite a bad player. But the optimal way to do it, I think Nidalee kills you here. Does she? No? No, I think you get away. Do you get away? No, she just auto attacks you.
No,
okay.
No, I died. Yeah.
So the optimal way to play that, here, let's go back. Okay. Play it out. As soon as he gets up into range to fling him under tower, you just go for it right here. And you could have started fighting him and you could have probably killed him. But because you waited, you have to wait longer to kill him. And at this point, look what Nidalee's doing. She's doing Scuttle Crab in the river, and she sees this up here, right? She sees her teammate here. She sees her teammate low. She sees you low, and as soon as she's like looking at this, you know what she's thinking? She's thinking, I gotta go top and help my Teemo. But if you had been all-inning him 10 seconds ago, then she would not have had time to react because she was down here when you could have been all-inning him. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But because you wait to all-in him, then she's like, oh boy, I gotta go help my Teemo. You end up killing him, but she knows exactly where you are, and she just walks up and kills you. And the way you're playing, realistically, Z-Zero's not doing that much for you. If you just had like a Spectre's Cowl, and like if you had Spectre's Cowl and okay, I think Z-Zero's 2,700, right? So if you had Spectre's Cowl and the Hunting guys and boots, you would have killed him and gotten out with taking less damage because Spectre's Cowl would have just made you tankier. You have health and you have magic resist and you have health regen, as opposed to just having health regen and magic resist. You actually get less health regen with Z-Zero Portal than Spectre's Cowl because Spectre's Cowl gives you the on hit health regen along with Doran Shield, which does the exact same thing. Spectre's Cowl and Doran Shield together versus an AP champion are very, very strong because they basically have the same passive twice. It's like right here, there's not really much you can do because you're just kind of trapped under your tower while your teammate's dying. Like, your teammates are all dying. You can't kill Teemo because you don't have damage. If you roam, it's kind of pointless. Like, yeah, you can catch people, but you only have, like, that much damage. You're not, like, doing much besides getting one pick and then, like, they just force you back. Teemo's pushing a tower. You got a kill for your, or you got a few kills, but Teemo's, like, technically still ahead because he's out CSing you so hard, right? And he got a tower for his team. Consider, like, is it worth, really, to go down here and kill Lucian when Teemo's getting all of this up here? Not really, right? You want to know why?
Why?
Because your team's still really fucking behind. And you're not getting any towers out of it. They still have all their outer towers up. Teemo got a map objective for that. And if you consider how far ahead you would have been with this optimization, then you could have just prevented your team from being this far behind because you would have been, you know, terrorizing the top half of the map. Nidalee would not have had as much pressure bot lane, and Zed would have been more free to roam. Because the enemy jungler would have been less aggressive. This kill right here is good. Again, though, that's him playing like an idiot. That's not like really you guys out playing him. You have 4 kills, so you're closer to even with him now. But you have to consider he doesn't even have any kills, and he's like still even with you because he's out CSing you that much, and he has a tower, so technically he's ahead. If you consider like, okay, so total value of gold, he's actually still ahead of you by almost 1,000 actually. 1,000 gold just from CSing in a tower, even though you have 4 kills. You see that difference? It's kind of crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So CSing is very, very important. Last hitting is very important. And itemization is very important because itemization, proper itemization, allows you to do both of those things. Should have killed that ward back there whenever you walk past it. Try and make it a point whenever you're just like casually walking through your jungle just to A move, like attack move into bushes, because wards give gold and EXP. EXP is very, very, very valuable. The gold doesn't matter that much, but EXP is awesome. Okay, so right here, are you going for a Rylai's, I think? You're going for a Rylai's, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Rylai's will be good for your Stoneborn Pact. Consider that Rylai's only gives 75 AP and 300 health. Look at what Teemo has. He has an item that gives 80 AP on hit damage, and he has an item that gives 80 AP and Magic Pen. Actually, this gives CDR too. If you compare Rylai's to these two items, it's not very strong, especially on Singed, when like you need it early, but you're getting it like as a mid game item. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of value that he gets from his items just goes up and up and up over time. As like versus like if you get a Rylai's, it goes down slowly unless you have a Liandry's on top of it. If you had Liandry's first, then you would have been doing more throughout the entire game, only because of the build path, because of the component items being better for you in this game. Especially Haunting Guys, you would have gotten a couple kills with Haunting Guys that you missed. And then you would have been able to get Rylai's later, right? Get it later, and have it be theoretically more effective because you have the Liandry's already there to back it up. But you have ZZ-Rat Rylai's here. You don't have Rylai's Liandry's, you have ZZ-Rat Rylai's, so your Rylai's is not going to really do that much damage. Get the kill on him, which is fine. But he got your tower, so he's probably still ahead of you. How much? Yeah, he's still 1,000 gold ahead of you, even though like you've killed him twice, but his gold lead hasn't shrunk. It's shrunk by 100 gold because he's out CS'd you so hard, and he's gotten objectives. Which is stuff you could have prevented if you had been, optimizing properly from the start of the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you're pushing the tower, that's fine. He teleports up top. You get the goofling on Nidalee and you walk away. Oh. I think you get out here unless TF. Okay, so TF teleports on you. Something important to note is you started proxying without your ultimate up. At this stage in the game, proxying without ultimate is asking to die, because characters are a lot stronger, they're a lot faster, they have more damage, they have more health. If you don't have ultimate up, it's basically a suicide if you're running around behind towers with no ultimate up, because that's like your main spell. You can't do anything at this stage of the game without your ultimate, really. Very important to have that. Okay, so Teemo is 1-6 and he's still 1,000. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's still 1,000 gold up. Keep in mind, CS early game is the most important thing. So what's the logic here for going Bramble Vest? I'm assuming a Thorn Mill. What's your reasoning?
Well, I was saying that the evolution and was fed and Nidalee was going AD.
Okay. So why not go Tabby instead of Swiftness Boost? Why'd you go Swiftness Boost if you already have movement speed, Quince?
Because of the slow from Teemo.
The slow from Teemo. If you're worried about the slow, then it's probably better to get... Okay, so I can see why you went Swiftness Boots because of your runes and masteries, right? You already have MR from your runes, and you have MR in your item build from ZZ-Rot, and ZZ-Rot gives you movement speed, which Swifties can compound with. So you probably don't need Merc Treads this game because they don't have a lot of crowd control. But the thing you have to remember about Merc Treads is you don't really need, on Singe specifically, because his access to MR items is really shitty compared to other champions. Singe is not a character that can really rush Spirit Visage. So consider the fact that if you just have... I'm going to pause this actually, I'm going to make it more clearly. Consider the fact that if you had here's a example rune page that I would have run. I would have tried, you know, flat AP blues, move speed or AP quints, armor yellows, M-pen reds, even spell vamp quints work now. I don't really think there's an optimal build on Singe, but I don't think there's an optimal build on Singe for runes and masteries, but I think there's like ones that are better, if that makes sense. Like better for certain games.
Okay.
So for this game, if you had those runes with like a Deathfire Touch as your mastery, with the magic pen and with the extra ability power, then you could have gotten Merc Treads, and yeah, the slow would have hit you stronger from Teemo mushrooms, but it would have lasted shorter. So you're making the trade-off of being slowed for a shorter time, but being slowed harder, if that makes sense, right? But at the same time, like the overall effect is net neutral of this of his shrooms, but you have damage, and you have about the same amount of tankiness because you have magic resistance from your Merc Treads, and you probably have like a Spectre's Cowl just laying around in your inventory if you've been itemizing properly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you end up gaining damage and gaining early mid game effectiveness, but really trading nothing, right? Because Stoneborn Pact doesn't do shit for you until you have Rylai's. So it's basically a wasted keystone until you have the item. That's why I don't really like running it, because it requires an item to be effective on Singed. Yeah, you can use it with W and you can use it with Fling, but it's really not that good. It's really only good on Singed if you can continuously apply the Cancerous Slow with your Rylai's, right?
Yeah.
Food for thought. And at the same time, your itemization here, the Bramble Vest, I think that's fine. But you could have had Bramble Vest while also having a Leanderies and doing way more damage. That team fight right there is fine. Personally, I think I would have... I'm going to back up, actually. Okay, so we'll watch this in the beginning of the team fight. You pop your ult here and you're chasing down Lucian. I think at this stage, okay, so you have W up right here, but you're like, okay, so right there, what you did was you pedaled back and you weren't really sure where to go. Like, do I go on Nidalee over here? Do I go on... Who was down here? It was Vel'Koz who flashed over... Yeah, Vel'Koz just walked over here. So you had three choices, right? You could have gone on Nidalee here. You could have gone on Vel'Koz right here. He moved here. Or you could have kept going on Lucian, who ended up flashing away. You need, in a situation like this, you need to make one decision and stick with it. Nidalee is the wrong decision, right? Because Nidalee is full health, she's full mana. You can't really kill her because you don't have that much damage and she's pretty tanky, right?
Yeah.
Your two other choices here are Vel'Koz, who was over here and walked away. While you backpedaled over here and went back for Nidalee, he ended up getting all the way over here, which is why decision making is very important in a team fight like this. You gotta pick one target and stick on it. And your best target here is gonna be Lucian. Because Lucian was already kind of chunked from whenever you guys were fucking with him over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have your W that was about to come up. He ended up flashing away right before it came up. But if you had just pressured him with it, you could have walked up here. And maybe you could have done more damage to Vel'Koz too, right? Like you ended up... I'm gonna back up one more time, because like if you had chosen to just commit on Lucian or Vel'Koz here, one, if you look at the way Vel'Koz is walking, he's walking like right up to them, right? If you had been on Lucian, you could have been hurting Vel'Koz during this. Like while this is happening, Vel'Koz would have been taking damage because of the way he positioned. Or if you chose to just go on Vel'Koz right here, then you would have been hurting him the entire time. Look at how low Vel'Koz gets at the end of this. Vel'Koz gets out on about 500 health, right? So 500 health, you had about 2 seconds here to hurt him, not including just poison. You had 2 seconds. If you auto attacked him, that's about 2 auto attacks is 100 damage by itself. Soraka could have auto attacked him twice. That's over 100 damage itself. Actually, yeah, you would have done 200 damage to him with auto attacks. So he has base armor, I think. No, he has 58 armor. You would have done about 180 damage to him. Soraka would have done a little bit over 100, not including your poison, not including the fact that he's slowed to take more poison damage. So you could have maybe killed Vel'Koz there with a little bit of like decision making. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. it seems like I'm kind of picking at stuff. I like that's really specific and weird, but this is all really important stuff when it comes to team fighting, because team fighting is like your thing as Singed if you're not going to be playing proxy Singed, which I don't really recommend.
Yeah.
Because like your score line says 5-2-2, right? Like at the end of this game, if you were to look at your score line and you like to an untrained eye, you would have just said, oh well, my team fed, I couldn't carry him, I had a good score, but like I couldn't carry, right? But there's all sorts of things that we can identify together that would have made your 5-2-2 score been like a 10 to like 8, or like 11 to like 7 score. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With tower kills, with more CS, you could have been a behemoth in this game with like a few optimizations and decisions. Okay, so you gotta kite away from that. This fight right here, okay, so Jinx gets caught. This fight's already lost. There's not much to say here because Zed's essentially like going 1-for-1. I think does he die here? That's unfortunate. Yeah, there's really not much to say about that fight because Jinx kind of walked in and died. At the same time, if you had been like carrying the game from the beginning, not even carrying, if you had just been like going even with Teemo from the beginning, then you would have not had these 2 towers dead. This tower might have lived. They wouldn't have had the ability to just walk around in your jungle for completely free and just ward whatever they wanted, like get vision wherever and just do their thing, right? Because that's how Jinx died there, is like a lack of vision, a lack of communication. She didn't have enough warning, so they just walked up to her in the bush and killed her. Because she didn't know, right? There's like so little map control or like not dragon control, there's like so little map control or so little jungle control that she's like, you just can't like go anywhere. And then she ended up dying for it. And I think the game just, you guys just surrender here, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, I'm gonna go back, actually. Go back. Alright. So, tell me what it is that you're taking away from this review. What is it that you're gonna remember about this game that you'll try and incorporate in other games that you play?
First thing I'll do is, if ever I'm getting punished or poked in lane versus a ranged champion, I'm gonna look to proxy more. And during team fight, it's to find a weak enemy and stick to it.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a weak enemy, it just has to be the best enemy, because Vel'Koz was full health at the start of that, and you could have also killed him.
Okay.
So it just has to be like the best enemy for you to pick.
Okay.
And that's something that really only comes with practice, but whenever this shit was happening over here, the way that I identified Vel'Koz as the best target was I did like a checklist, right? Nidalee, too tanky to kill. Zed, he's the best target, but Lucian, technically he's the best target, but Zed was all-inning him and he died. So Vel'Koz ends up being the second best target. But because if you had been hitting Lucian that whole time and spreading your poison, then Vel'Koz would have been getting hurt as well when he was standing right here.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes him equal target, if not like better.
Okay.
For you to be able to kill.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're always thinking of your matchups. Don't be afraid to not run magic resist, especially at your rating. You don't really need magic resistance versus AP range top laners, because AP range top laners at your elo will not be good enough to abuse you if you're just shoving them in. Like over and over and over, they're straight up not good enough to abuse you. And honestly, I don't even think that you need it at higher ratings in lane if you're able to shove properly, and you can and proxy at certain stages. You can even like completely skip it. Like see this creep wave coming up right here. If you just skip this, right? If you skip this right here, this wave, just walk around and kill this, you get 6 CS. And like, what do you get for staying up here? All you get is harassment. Because you can't all in Teemo underneath the tower right here. If he chooses to walk backwards and just sit under his tower and farm, like stand right here and farm, and the wave is frozen here, you can't walk up and kill these because you're gonna get hit by the tower, right? And he's gonna be auto attacking you as well. If you go to fling him, he walks backwards, and if you go up to CS, he hits you. So like what are you thinking like right there? You're thinking, well, I better just recall But what you can do is just say fuck this creep wave, fuck this entire creep wave, walk around and get this wave, and then die to the tower. And that way you end up getting CS and experience and gold without sitting up here and getting denied and having to recall and not get anything. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just stuff like that to consider. Singed is like the only character in the game who can really do that without items. Yeah, other characters can do it with items, but he's the only character who can do it without needing items to do it. So always consider that play when you're in a situation like this, that you can just skip a wave and go farm, because you're going to lose more farm and more gold and more experience in the long run than if you just said fuck it, skipped a wave and proxied. Because what ends up happening is, since he doesn't have a creep wave coming to hit this wave because you killed it, he has to either tank the wave or let the creeps kill his creeps. So it unfreezes, right? So he can't sit here and do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Something to consider. So do you have any other questions, any other comments, or?
No, that's pretty much clear.
All right, sounds good. I will see you again if you ever want another coaching session.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man.